there was no choice, because basically when you went to get chappals, for example, you went down to Janpath and they had a shop which had chappals. But they were all regulation kind of chappals, the very basic one. And supposing you wanted something other than that basic chappal, like a boot, because it got cold in Delhi, you would have to go to the Chinese, because the Chinese bootmaker was the only one who would make you a boot, a wonderful made-to-order boot, but was outrageously expensive and certainly well beyond, the ability of any reasonably, even middle-class Indian, I would imagine, to afford. They were outrageously expensive. So, now when you go down to Janpath or when you go to Khan Market, there are so many shops to buy chappals of all kinds, and they're not outrageously expensive. And you find people who are buying fashionable shoes. You couldn't just assume you lived in a society which had things to consume. They just weren't there. And, you can say, yes, but, you had these wonderful sarees that were being made in the village, and you had clay cups. It's true. You had these wonderful terracotta cups, which you then tossed away. You don't have them anymore, and they were really wonderful. They were sanitary, it smelled wonderful, but people obviously didn't want them more than they wanted glass or pottery or whatever. So there's a tendency to be romantic about the fact that people build these little bonfires on the street during the winter. They had those braziers under their blankets, and you could look out, you could smell this wonderful charcoal, you could see these people walking majestically with their braziers, you could see them on bicycles coming down the roads because there were very few cars. That is a very romantic vision. I mean, it has its appeal, but I don't think most people who are actually carrying the braziers or on the bicycles I think they were probably happier taking a bus. And by the way, the buses at that time, the buses looked as if they were about to fall over on their sides. So you had the feeling of, if you can avoid a bus, do not take the bus. So people who live now probably can't imagine the kind of totally different cultural and economic landscape that prevailed, and how people really lived these constrained lives. And of course the emergency was terrible. So when people compare Modi to Mrs Gandhi during the emergency, you have this feeling of what? The courts are still functioning here. Habeas corpus still functions. But people have a very short memory, I think. And